Pop Art Part 2, you're ready to transform your portrait. You've already found your image, imported it into Photoshop, and saved your file. So the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take off the background of this picture so that you can convert it to black and white. But before you do that, just in case you make a mistake, you're going to want to have a backup picture available. So if I go over to layer 1 and I right click in the layer and I say duplicate layer, okay. Now I have a backup underneath my Marilyn picture. It's the same picture, but it's there in case I need it. Now I don't want to see both layers, so I'm just going to click this eye so that I just see the top one. Okay. So now I want to take off the background and I want to make sure that I am clicked in the top layer. So if you're clicked in the bottom layer, you just want to click so that you're in the top layer. And there's a couple different tools you could use. You can use the eraser to take off the background or to take off any area. And every time you click on a tool, the options pop up. So here's the eraser. I could make it larger or smaller by varying the size. The problem with the eraser is you really don't have a lot of control over the eraser. Another tool you can use is the magnetic lasso tool. So if I click on the lasso and I drop it down to the magnetic, you can click around sections and it sort of adheres to the section you're tracing. And you sort of have to go slowly. I'm going faster than I would if I was working on this for my project, but I do want to be able to show you a lot of things in this demo. And once I usually click around an area, then I go back, I complete the circle, and I say edit, cut, okay? And there, that section of the background's cut out, and then I can continue on. I usually don't worry if I have little mistakes. I am going to cut off some of those flyaway hairs. I can go back in and get those later. Once I have a section I like, I usually go ahead and I cut it off. Okay, and then if you wanted to go in with the eraser and take out some of those bigger things, you could. You could probably even go in and get some of those little things. When you're working on a portrait or something so precise, you may want to go in and say view, zoom in so you can see closer. So at times I will definitely view, zoom in or zoom out depending on what I need to do. Now, another thing besides the magnetic lasso and the eraser is the selection brush, this quick selection tool. If I click on this and sort of bring it over, it will sort of magnetically adhere to a section. The problem with this is it can often take too much. If it takes too much, then what you can do is you can just edit, undo along the top. Let's say I took too much through here. I can edit, undo, but I can also say select, deselect. So if you ever cut out more than you bargained for, you can just go through and change that. So I'm going to go through and finish cutting out the background. Okay, I definitely would, if this was my project, have spent more time with this and make sure that I get the little areas. And some of them are tricky. This has hair, it still has background. I think I probably would go in with my eraser and take that out. I probably would have done it with a much smaller eraser. Okay, I might get some of the edge. I might try to smooth this out as well. I could even use the smudge tool, which is this little finger, to sort of smudge out some of those bumps as well. Okay, so when you've taken off the background and you're happy with it, first thing I would do is I'd say File, Save. You don't need to say Save As because you've already saved it. Then, just in case something happens to this one, I'm going to right-click and duplicate the layer. So I've got one layer that's good with the background, one that's good without, and then the one I'm working on. Now, if yours wasn't erasing, it's probably because you were either clicked on the wrong layer or you had the bottom layer visible. So now I'm going to hide those two layers. Those are my sort of insurance in case I mess up on anything. And I'm going to work in the top layer. The next thing you're going to do is you want to convert your picture to black and white. So I'm clicked on the correct layer. I don't have anything selected. And now I'm going to go up to Filter. I'm going to go over to adjustments, and I'm going to go over to threshold. Filter, adjustments, threshold. And all of these are on your handout list one by one too. Now, when I'm adjusting the threshold, I can't have the toolbar in front of her face because that wouldn't work well. So I want to push it off to the side, and you want to adjust that so that you can see some of the image, most of the image, most of the face, but you still have those darks in there. So my other example was around 100, and it depends on your picture. I think I'm going to stay with 98, and I'm going to say, okay. So now I've converted it to black and white through the threshold, okay? My next step is to say File, Save, because I've taken off the background, I've converted it to black and white, and I also made sure that I have some reference pictures underneath, because later on you're going to want to use those if you want to do some accurate colors. So now I'm ready for today to save so that I can move on to the next step, coloring it in next class. I've already saved, I'm all set. If you've got any questions, check with your art teacher. Bye.